carrying capacity, as defined by the ecologists that are thinking in terms of deer or buffalo or whatever, would define it as the maximum population of a given species a particular environment can support indefinitely. A lot of people forget that word indefinitely. Even biologists I've seen in some of their textbooks don't put that word in at the end. And that's essential, because that refers to the fact that you're talking about a long time span, not just how many deer can graze on this habitat right now. The maximum population of a given species, because obviously more mice could be supported on a given acreage than elephants. So, of a given species, a particular environment can support indefinitely. Now, for humans, it's different, because humans live differently in different societies. And humans back in the Neolithic age were living differently than humans in the Industrial age. So human carrying capacity would be the maximum human population living with specified organization and technology that a particular environment can support indefinitely. The word indefinitely is still there, it is essential. The phrase carrying capacity is troublesome. People aren't quite sure how you can define it and what it means and so on. And let me try to home in on the meaning of the term carrying capacity. I used to think of it simply as how many people can be fed, but there's a lot more to it than that. How many people can be fed and fueled? How many people can be fed, fueled, and supplied with all this apparatus and so on? How many trees can be cut down so that we can make paper for academicians to write books? There are limits on all of those things.
And also on the waste.
Yeah, and how many people can survive in an environment in which all these waste products are having to pile up somewhere or contaminate the atmosphere and so on. I think the way we're living now, the world was overpopulated already by the time of our Civil War. If we had stopped population growth, well, even better, if we had stopped population growth at the time that Malthus wrote, there would have been difficulties in stopping it, because that changes the age structure of the population and so on, and you'd have suddenly a lot of old folks with not enough young people to support them and so on. So it would have been a miserable process trying to make the transition rapidly, and it's going to be a miserable process as we try to make the transition not quite so rapidly, but too rapidly anyway for comfort in the 21st century. We're going to be making that transition because we are right now passing over the peak of oil production in a world in which we've made so many societies so dependent on that resource. Right. So if you want a ballpark figure, I would say 1 billion would have been more than enough. Here we are with over 6 billion now, and that means that somehow we've got to devise a way for obtaining a soft landing as we reduce the population from 6+ billion down toward 1 billion. By the time we got down to 1 billion, we will have already used up a lot of the resources and done a lot of the damage to the environment that we're now doing, so that even 1 billion by then will be excessive. Whereas if we'd stopped with 1 billion when we first passed through that mark, it wouldn't have been excessive. There is such a thing as limits. Right. Carrying capacity is a finite, even though vague and sometimes somewhat flexible concept, it isn't unlimited, and we need to think that way.